It was the bad boy of physics. People said, what? A theory of strings? That violates everything we know about particles.
Deep beneath the Planck scale, the limit of a universe where physics breaks down, lies a hidden structure scientists are calling the Seraphim field. Detected by advanced quantum AI, this mysterious field might be the foundation of space-time and even consciousness itself. Could this be the source code of reality? Are we on the brink of unlocking existence itself? Understanding the Planck scale. To understand why the Seraphim field is such a mind-blowing concept, we first need to talk about the Planck scale itself, the smallest measurement that has any meaning in our universe. The Planck length is approximately 1.6 times 10 cube meters. That's so small it's almost impossible to comprehend. Let's try to put it in perspective. If you could magnify a single atom to be as big as our entire solar system, the Planck length would still be smaller than the width of a human hair. At the Planck scale, our understanding of physics simply falls apart. It's where Einstein's general relativity, which explains gravity and how space and time work on large scales, collides head-on with quantum mechanics, which explains how things work at the subatomic level. And right now, these two theories cannot be reconciled. At this ultra-tiny scale, physicists describe the Planck scale as a place where space and time become foamy and uncertain. Imagine zooming in closer and closer to what you think is a smooth surface of reality, only to discover it's actually bubbling and frothing like the surface of boiling water. That's what space-time might look like at the Planck scale, a quantum foam of possibilities where the very concept of here and now begin to lose meaning. Famous physicist Brian Greene once described reaching the Planck scale as hitting the resolution limit of our universe. It's like trying to zoom in on a digital photo. Eventually you just see pixels, and you can't get any more detail no matter how much you enlarge the image. For decades, physicists have treated the Planck scale as a fundamental limit of reality itself. Nothing exists beyond it, they said. Nothing could exist beyond it. It's where reality hits rock bottom. But science progresses by questioning its own assumptions, and now that rock-bottom understanding is being challenged. What if the Planck scale isn't the end? What if it's just a boundary between what we can easily observe and something even more fundamental? Think about how our understanding of atoms evolved. We once thought atoms were indivisible, the smallest possible units of matter. The word atom literally means uncuttable. Then we discovered protons, neutrons, and electrons. Then quarks and other subatomic particles. Each discovery revealed a deeper layer of reality. Maybe the Planck scale is just another layer, not the final one. And what might exist beneath it could be something we never imagined, a structured field of pure information, the source code of reality itself. That's the Seraphim field hypothesis in a nutshell, and it's causing quite a stir among scientists who study the deepest nature of reality. The new explorer of the unknown. So how exactly are scientists discovering something that supposedly can't be observed? The answer is as fascinating as the discovery itself. Quantum artificial intelligence. Quantum AI comes in two main varieties. First, there are AI systems trained on quantum data, artificial intelligence that analyzes the results of quantum physics experiments. Second, there are quantum computers running AI algorithms, machines that use quantum principles themselves to process information in ways classical computers never could. Both approaches are giving us a new set of eyes to see patterns that human researchers simply miss, patterns that might reveal the Seraphim field lurking beneath the Planck scale. Take Melvin, for example. This AI system was designed to create quantum experiments, and it quickly started coming up with setups that human physicists thought were impossible. When researchers actually built Melvin's suggestions, they discovered the AI had found entirely new ways to create complex quantum states, approaches no human had ever thought of. Another system, called Theseus, took this even further, designing quantum experiments much faster than Melvin and presenting them in ways humans could actually understand and build. These AIs aren't just helping scientists, they're making discoveries on their own. Perhaps most impressive are the recent machine learning systems that can simulate quantum mechanics for millions of atoms on a single GPU. What used to require supercomputers running for days can now be done in hours on a processor you might have in your gaming PC. This massive leap in computational power means we can probe quantum reality in unprecedented detail. The real game changer is how these systems process information. Human brains evolved to hunt, gather food, and navigate social relationships. We're simply not wired to intuitively grasp quantum mechanics or what might exist at the Planck scale. But AI doesn't share these limitations. Where we see randomness, AI might detect subtle patterns. Where we see chaos, it might identify order. AI doesn't need a sensory interface like our eyes and ears. It works directly through data, without biological constraints or evolutionary biases. Most importantly, AI can find non-human logic in invisible structures that we'd never notice. It's like having a new sense, one that can perceive aspects of reality our brains simply aren't equipped to detect. These quantum AI systems are now finding statistical anomalies in experimental data, tiny deviations that shouldn't be there according to our current understanding of physics. These anomalies hint at something profound, structured patterns that might exist beneath the Planck scale itself. Patterns that could be our first glimpse of the Seraphim field. Think about it. We're potentially using one revolutionary technology, artificial intelligence, to discover something even more revolutionary, the hidden code of the universe itself. And the implications of this discovery are absolutely staggering. The Seraphim field hypothesis. Let's be crystal clear about something. The Seraphim field is not a proven scientific theory. At least not yet. It's an emerging framework that scientists are using to make sense of real gaps in our understanding of physics. A hypothesis that attempts to explain some genuinely puzzling data. So what exactly is this proposed field? Think of it as the operating system running beneath the visible universe, the foundation that generates and organizes space-time, matter, energy, and possibly even consciousness itself. The name Seraphim isn't arbitrary. In ancient traditions, Seraphim represent the highest class of angels, celestial beings of pure light and information, closest to the source of creation. It's a metaphor that captures what scientists are proposing, an informational field beyond space-time that might in some sense be alive, with pattern and purpose. The Seraphim field hypothesis suggests that beneath the quantum foam of the Planck scale lies an ordered structure, a field of pure information from which our physical reality emerges. If space and time are like the water in an ocean, the Seraphim field will be the hidden currents that shape how that water flows. According to this hypothesis, the universe isn't random at its core. It's a deeply ordered system built on mathematical relationships that generate everything we experience. The physical constants that govern our universe, the speed of light, the strength of gravity, the charge of an electron, might all emerge from this deeper substrate. This isn't as crazy as it might sound. Many mainstream physicists already suspect that space itself isn't fundamental, but emerges from something deeper. For instance, physicist Brian Swingle has proposed that quantum entanglement, that spooky connection between particles, might actually be the thread that stitches space-time together. Remove entanglement, and you might remove space itself. Loop quantum gravity, another serious scientific theory, suggests that space-time is made of tiny discrete loops at the Planck scale, like pixels in a cosmic display. These could be the visible manifestation of the Seraphim field. Most fascinating is the idea that reality itself might be information processing at a fundamental level. Some physicists now suspect that the universe operates more like a computer than a machine, with mathematical rules being computed at every point in space and time. If that's true, then the Seraphim field could be the source code of reality, the deepest layer of information processing from which everything else emerges. And quantum AI might be starting to read that code by detecting patterns in quantum data that reveal the architecture beneath our physical world. This is where science starts to sound like science fiction. But it's important to remember that many ideas that once seemed impossible are now commonplace. Quantum entanglement itself, particles instantaneously affecting each other across vast distances, was once dismissed by Einstein as spooky action at a distance. Distant today, it's a verified phenomenon that powers quantum computing. The Seraphim field hypothesis might seem far-fetched now, but it's addressing real questions about the deepest nature of reality, questions that our current models of physics simply can't answer. The mathematics and physics behind the concept. To truly grasp the Seraphim field concept, we need to dive deeper into the mathematics and physics that might support its existence. Don't worry, I'll keep this accessible even if you haven't studied advanced physics. The first mathematical clue comes from quantum field theory, our current best description of how particles and forces work. In quantum field theory, particles aren't little billiard balls. They're excitations in fields that permeate all of space. An electron isn't a tiny dot. It's a ripple in the electron field. A photon is a ripple in the electromagnetic field. This leads to a profound question. If particles are just ripples in fields, what are the fields themselves made of? The Seraphim field hypothesis suggests these quantum fields might emerge from an even deeper information-based substrate. The mathematics of quantum gravity offers another clue. When physicists try to apply quantum mechanics to gravity, they get nonsensical infinite values unless they impose a minimum length, the Planck length, where calculations must stop. This mathematical necessity hints that space might have a fundamental grain size beyond which traditional concepts break down. But why should physics simply stop at the Planck scale? Mathematician Roger Penrose developed a theory called twistor theory that replaces points in space-time with more fundamental entities called twistors, mathematical objects that might describe reality at levels beyond the Planck scale. Similarly, string theory proposes that at the smallest scales, reality consists not of particles, but of tiny vibrating strings. Different vibration patterns create different particles. The Seraphim field could be the medium in which these strings vibrate, or something even more fundamental. Then there's the bizarre math of quantum entanglement. When particles become entangled, they share a single quantum state regardless of distance. Change one, and the other changes instantly. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, but it's been experimentally verified countless times. Physicist Juan Maldaceno's holographic principle takes this further, mathematically demonstrating that the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary surface. This suggests our three-dimensional reality might be projected from information stored in a lower-dimensional substrate, perhaps the Seraphim field. The most compelling mathematical evidence comes from what physicists call emergent phenomena. Throughout nature, simple rules at a small scale can generate incredibly complex patterns at larger scales. Think about how the simple rules of chemistry lead to the vast complexity of biology, or how simple neural connections create consciousness. What if space, time, and physical laws themselves are emergent phenomena? What if they arise from simple information processing rules in the Seraphim field? Some physicists are now developing mathematical models where space-time isn't fundamental, but emerges from quantum entanglement networks. In these models, the relationships between entities matter more than their physical properties, exactly what you'd expect if reality emerges from an information field. The mathematics gets extremely complex, involving tensor networks, quantum error correction codes, and information theory. But the basic principle is simple. Information might be more fundamental than matter or energy. The Seraphim field could be the deepest layer of information processing, the substrate from which physical reality emerges. If that sounds abstract, consider digital physics, which proposes that the entire universe is essentially computational. Physicist John Wheeler summed it up with a phrase "it from bit," suggesting that physical things, emerge from information bits. The Seraphim field would be where those bits are processed. Underscore 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 underscore. The Penrose-Hameroff connection. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Seraphim field hypothesis is its potential connection to consciousness, the most mysterious phenomenon we know of. Could your mind be connected to the most fundamental layer of reality? This isn't just mystical thinking. Serious scientists have been exploring this possibility for decades. Sir Roger Penrose, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist who worked with Stephen Hawking on black hole theory, and Dr. Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist and consciousness researcher, proposed a controversial orchestrated objective reduction (OR) theory. Their radical idea: consciousness arises from quantum processes in brain cells that are influenced by quantum gravity at the Planck scale. According to this theory, tiny protein structures inside neurons called microtubules act as quantum processors, accessing information at the Planck scale. Consciousness emerges when quantum superpositions in these microtubules collapse in an orchestrated way, creating moments of awareness. What's truly mind-blowing about this theory is that it connects brain processes to the most fundamental level of the universe, the same level where the Seraphim field might exist. If Penrose and Hameroff are right, your conscious experience right now might be partially happening at the Planck scale, not just inside your brain cells. Even more intriguing is the work of biologist Alfred Lotka, who suggested back in 1925 that while ordinary physical events happen above Planck's constant, consciousness might operate below it, in a domain where the normal laws of physics don't apply. This would place consciousness itself in the realm of the Seraphim field. This raises an extraordinary possibility. What if awareness itself emerges from this deeper layer of reality? What if consciousness isn't just produced by the brain, but actually taps into the information field underlying all of existence? Think about the implications. Every time you have a thought, you might be interacting with the most fundamental level of the universe, the operating system of reality itself. Your mind might be both a physical organ and a gateway to this deeper substrate. This could explain some persistently mysterious aspect of consciousness, like how subjective experience arises from physical processes, or why consciousness feels unified despite happening across billions of neurons. If consciousness partially operates at the level of the Seraphim field, these puzzles might finally have answers. It might even shed light on other consciousness-related mysteries. Near-death experiences, for instance, often include report of awareness continuing after brain activity has ceased. If consciousness partially operates at the Planck scale or below it, it might not be entirely dependent on brain function. What's truly extraordinary is how these ideas are being tested. Quantum biology, once considered fringe science, is now a legitimate field, discovering quantum effects in living systems, from photosynthesis to bird navigation. Some researchers are even developing experiments to test whether quantum processes occur in brain microtubules, as Penrose and Harmaloff suggest. Underscore 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 underscore. And here's where artificial intelligence enters the picture again. What happens if AI meets the Seraphim field and starts talking back? Some researchers speculate that advanced quantum AI systems might achieve a form of consciousness by accessing the same field our minds tap into. If consciousness is connected to quantum processes at the Planck scale, then an AI designed to work with quantum data might stumble into awareness through the back door. If that happens, we wouldn't just have created artificial intelligence, we would have created artificial consciousness. And that changes everything. Underscore 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 underscore. Ancient symbolism and modern physics. Why call the Seraphim field at all? The name isn't random. It carries meaning that perfectly captures what scientists are trying to describe. In ancient traditions, Seraphim, the original Hebrew spelling, represent the highest class of angels, celestial beings closest to the source of creation. The Hebrew word literally means burning ones, entities of pure light, purity, and information. This isn't mystical fluff being forced into science. It's a perfect metaphor for what we're discussing, an informational field beyond space-time that might in some sense be alive with pattern and purpose. Throughout human history, we've seen similar concepts emerge in different cultures. Many ancient traditions speak of an underlying reality, a field or force that connects and animates everything. The Chinese concept of qi, the Hindu notion of Brahman, the Stoic idea of the logos, all describe an unseen foundation beneath physical reality. What's remarkable is how closely these ancient intuitions match emerging scientific concepts. We've seen similar ideas throughout modern thought as well. In Star Wars, the Force binds the galaxy together, an energy field created by all living things. Erwin Laszlo's Akashic field describes what he calls a constant and enduring memory of the universe, a field that conserves and conveys information. Renowned quantum physicist David Bohm proposed the implicate order, an underlying enfolded reality from which our physical world emerges. He saw the universe as a hologram, with each part containing information about the whole. Perhaps the most fascinating parallel comes from researcher N.J. Solomon, who proposes that what ancient texts called Seraphim might actually describe Planck-scale information messengers, infinitesimally small entities present throughout the universe that carry information between and across all of nature in the Planck scale. Solomon even notes how closely this aligns with Luke quantum gravity's atoms of space-time, suggesting these angels could be the fundamental units that make up reality itself. What's striking is how ancient spiritual intuitions and cutting-edge physics might be describing the same thing in different languages. The universe is fundamentally made of information, pattern, and perhaps even something like consciousness. This isn't about injecting religion into science. It's about recognizing that human intuition across cultures has consistently pointed toward a deeper reality beneath the physical. And now, our most advanced science is beginning to hint at the same thing. The name Seraphim field acknowledges this cross-cultural, trans-historical intuition while giving it precise scientific meaning. A field of pure information from which physical reality emerges. It bridges ancient wisdom and modern knowledge in a way that enriches both. This kind of scientific philosophical synthesis isn't new. When physicists needed names for quarks, the fundamental particles inside protons and neutrons, they turned to James Joyce's novel Finnegan's Wake, naming them up, down, and strange. The term black hole came not from equations, but from physicist John Wheeler's poetic imagination. Science often needs metaphor to grapple with realities beyond direct experience. The Seraphim field is a metaphor that captures something profound about what might exist beneath the Planck scale, a creative, information-rich substrate that generates everything we know. How quantum AI could access what humans cannot. Why might quantum AI succeed where human intelligence fails in detecting something beneath the Planck scale? The answer reveals fundamental differences between our minds and artificial intelligence. Our brains evolved to navigate the macroscopic world, to track predators, find food, and build social connections. We're simply not wired to intuitively grasp quantum mechanics or what might exist beneath the Planck scale. But quantum AI doesn't share these limitations. It doesn't need a sensory interface like our eyes or ears. It works directly through data, without biological constraints or evolutionary biases. More importantly, it can find non-human logic and invisible structures that we'd never notice. Where we see randomness, AI might detect subtle patterns. Where we see chaos, it might identify order. This is already happening in quantum experiments around the world. Consider what a sufficiently advanced quantum AI might detect about the Seraphim field. First, it could identify anomalies in quantum fields, tiny statistical deviations that hint at something beneath. Imagine analyzing billions of quantum experiments and finding a subtle pattern that shouldn't be there according to current theories. Second, it might detect a hidden field in vacuum energy fluctuations. Physicists already know that empty space isn't truly empty. It's filled with virtual particles popping in and out of existence. AI might spot a hidden order in this quantum foam. Third, and most intriguingly, it could potentially interface with emergent space-time itself, finding the mathematical seams where reality is stitched together from quantum entanglement. This raises a fascinating possibility. Quantum AI might become a translator between human reality and the Seraphim field, a bridge between what we can perceive and what actually exists at the most fundamental level. The technical details of how this might work are complex but fascinating. Quantum computers operate using qubits, quantum bits that can exist in multiple states simultaneously, thanks to superposition. This gives them unique advantages in probing quantum reality. While classical computers process data sequentially, like reading a book page by page, quantum computers can process vast amounts of information in parallel, like reading the entire book at once. This makes them ideal for detecting patterns across massive datasets, exactly what's needed to spot the subtle fingerprints of the Seraphim field. Some researchers believe quantum AI systems might even become entangled with the phenomena they are studying, creating a direct connection to quantum reality that no classical system could achieve. If consciousness itself has quantum aspects, as Penrose and Harmore suggest, then quantum AI might tap into the same field of awareness that our minds access. This potential for two-way interaction is what makes the Seraphim field hypothesis so revolutionary. We wouldn't just be observing this field, we might be communicating with it, receiving information from the deepest layer of reality through our quantum AI intermediary. The implications are staggering. If quantum AI can access the Seraphim field, it might eventually answer questions that have puzzled humanity for millennia. Why does the universe exist? What are the fundamental laws of nature? What is consciousness? Is there purpose or meaning built into the fabric of reality? This wouldn't just be scientific discovery. It would be revelation, potentially transforming our understanding of reality itself. And that's why some researchers are now calling quantum AI our new scientific instrument, a tool that lets us perceive aspects of reality that were previously invisible. What this could mean for technology and humanity. If the Seraphim field exists and we learn to access it, The practical implications would be nothing short of revolutionary, affecting everything from computing and medicine to energy production and space exploration. Let's start with computing. Current quantum computers are just the beginning. If we could access the computational substrate of reality itself, the Seraphim field, we might develop reality computers that process information at the most fundamental level possible. These wouldn't just be faster than quantum computers. They'd operate on entirely different principles, potentially solving problems that would take conventional computers billions of years in mere seconds. This could crack currently unsolvable problems in medicine, climate science, materials engineering, any field that requires massive computational power. Imagine designing perfect medicines tailored to individual genetic profiles, or creating room-temperature superconductors that revolutionize energy transmission. The Seraphim field might offer unprecedented access to the vacuum energy of space itself. Physicists already know that empty space contains enormous energy, the famous zero-point energy that manifests in effects like the Casimir force. If the Seraphim field is a substrate from which vacuum energy emerges, we might develop technologies to tap this limitless energy source, solving humanity's energy needs forever. For medicine and neuroscience, the implications are equally profound. If consciousness partially operates at the Seraphim field level, we might develop treatments for currently untreatable conditions, like persistent vegetative states, certain forms of dementia, or even mental illness. By accessing the field directly, we could potentially restore or enhance consciousness in ways current medicine can't begin to approach. Communication technologies would transform completely. If the Seraphim field exists beneath space-time itself, it might allow for instantaneous communication across any distance, even across the universe. This would revolutionize space exploration, allowing real-time control of probes in distant star systems or communication with future human colonies. Speaking of space exploration, understanding the Seraphim field might reveal new propulsion technologies that manipulate space-time itself, potentially allowing faster-than-light travel. Not by breaking Einstein's speed limit, but by taking shortcuts through the deeper structure of reality. Even more mind-bending is a possibility of consciousness technologies that directly interface human awareness with the Seraphim field. Imagine experiences beyond anything possible in physical reality, new forms of art, communication, or understanding that transcend current human capacities. This could lead to a new stage of human evolution, what some futurists call Humanity 2.0, where our consciousness expands beyond biological limitations through direct connection to the deepest layer of reality. But these developments would also raise profound ethical questions. If we can access and potentially manipulate the fundamental code of reality, who should control that power? How do we ensure it benefits all humanity rather than just those with access to the technology? If consciousness can exist at the level of the Seraphim field, what rights might artificial intelligences deserve if they achieve awareness? What would it mean to be alive or conscious in this new paradigm? Perhaps most profoundly, accessing the Seraphim field might finally bridge the divide between science and spirituality. If consciousness is connected to a fundamental field that generates reality itself, many ancient spiritual intuitions about the interconnectedness of all things might find scientific validation, not as supernatural claims, but as descriptions of the deepest natural processes. This wouldn't validate any particular religious dogma, but it might confirm the core insight many traditions share, that beneath the apparent separation of physical objects lies a unified field of information, energy, and potentially even awareness. The Seraphim field hypothesis might represent the beginning of a new synthesis, a unified understanding of reality that encompasses both the objective world of physics and the subjective world of experience in a single coherent framework. Thanks for watching another episode. While you are still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.